Yeah, just wanted to get an update on that because we have just hardly a month left to submit that.
And, yes, so I thought into that, we've attended, I did not personally do it, but my finance people attended a seminar online, I believe, on all of the different criteria.
Oh, can you
For all.
turn the mic on? Just stay at the podium there. Yeah.
That way anybody's watching can
So,
see what's going on.
okay, so, yes, our one of the gals in our office is like, we have a group that, takes care of funding for different grants and whatnot. And she attended on Timberlake's behalf and in other communities, the Safe Streets and Roads for All, a webinar put on by the government. And she gave me a copy of the presentation here. And I went through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'll be happy to leave this with you. But in order to apply for money for construction, from what I gathered from this is that you need to have, or we need to have a what's called not a safety plan, a safety strategy. And in order to do that, the village needs to have this kind of a action plan in place to do it. And we've always had this plan in place to put in sidewalk along there. So I don't know if it has to be some official document that we need ordinance for or something like that. I didn't get into the weeds on that, but we do need like a vision and a safe, what's it called? There's a specific word, safe system approach. That says, look, we've got this situation. We've got kids walking on the side of a street where we've got cars running at 50 miles an hour. And this is obviously not safe. Here are the reasons and the criteria that we meet to have this safety strategy, the safety plan. And they will help fund that. There's two different funding things. There's the implementation grant, which is to do the actual work, okay, the construction or in the bidding of it. And then there's the grant to set up this safety strategy. Okay, that's the planning part that Dr. Sharma mentioned. So that's where I think with the village's go ahead, that's where we need to kind of the first step that we need to ask for. Once we get that, then we can move on to the implementation. All of this, though, is 80% federal, 20% local split in costs. So what I did this morning is prices for construction are outrageous right now. I just opened bids last Friday for asphalt resurfacing of Lakeland Boulevard, a section of it. My estimate to do that work last year when I applied for funding for it was 1.3 million. The bids I received came out to be 1.68 million. I mean, the costs are just astronomical right now for asphalt, for other services. And the fact that it's late in the season, maybe that contributed to it. But anyhow, I went through and updated I did an estimate of costs for to do the entire stretch. And if you not follow this, I would take you through, I actually have plans. Pass these along. We asked for funding for this project in 2000 CDPG funding
Still my heart.
in 2014, and we didn't receive it, but we knew it was such a large project that we broke it apart into phases. Phase one, just to get going on it, and we still didn't get funding. But overall, I mean, what I just gave the mayor and updated today, we're talking about a $480,000 project from beginning to end, from Woburn to East Shore. And that's including, having to replace drive aprons, drive culverts, ditch swales, because I know that the mayor's I've been in communication with him all along here, where there's all sorts of issues that we have over there drainage wise. And if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. So you can see in that estimate, Mayor, that's what I did, is put values in there for that. And it wasn't in the previous application. So that's why we're up to $480,000. So if we had the money or the funding and we were to advertise it or, get bids on that today, the village's share would be 96,000 and the 80% funding would be 384,000. That's what we're talking. So I wanted to give you guys that number right off the bat to say, do we want to pursue this? If we do, give me the go ahead. I'll probably have to give you some kind of a quote to be able to put all this together for the final application to do the safety plan. And we'll move forward from there. So.
I have a question. So last when we spoke, and this was the grant Councilman Conrad had brought to our attention. For that too, it's 20% that we have to pay. I thought it was 100%.
I thought it was too, but I'm going through this, and
Okay, because based on our conversation,
Right, yeah, and then basically that's what they have here, 80% federal, 20% local.
Is that for the planning or planning and construction?
That's all.
So 20 on both sides. So
Right.
it could be, depending on what the planning costs are, more than that. If they,
it's totally.
we would have to
80
apply
for-
for the planning part and then we'd have to apply for the construction part.
right. So what's the cost of or what are we asking from them for the planning part?
Well, I've got to put a number together and get it over to you. I
Because that
wanted
would
to
be a
get,
much lower.
oh, yes. Oh, heck. Oh, yeah.
And that's step one. So
That would be step one, but I didn't want to go ahead with step one before
sure.
knowing that, the end result is going to be asking for an $80,000
And- but the other
village
thing-
share.
The other thing is, obviously, if you're gonna apply for a grant, you want to ask for it all at once, but if we're gonna do it stepwise. do we have-
Phases.
If it's phases, do we have that money up front? For them to be like, okay, like, how does that work?
I would say we have to have the phase money up front, but not necessarily the total amount. So if we were to do the study for the stretch, because I don't think it's going to matter whether we break that into phases, but to do for the construction, yeah, we can break that apart and hopefully get funding. It's always nice to have phase one in your pocket and you get funding for it. And then, when it comes time, because this is a quarterly application that they put out and it's for the next 5 years. Or this is the first of 5 years that they're doing it for this safe. Apologize.
Safe road.
Yeah. So, that wouldn't be a problem to go for, it's always nice okay, we got phase one under our belt. Let's ask for phase two or phase three, whatever, however we want to break it apart.
Because I'm a realist here, and there's no way you're probably gonna be able to sell $96,000. A, we don't have it. B, I don't think we have the
Well,
support for it right away. But
Exactly.
if it's bite-sized pieces over the next 5 years, or we don't end up doing it all, we just do parts of it, then maybe it's still. in my eyes.
Are there any piggyback grants we can get with that?
Pardon?
Piggyback grants. grants-
Well, that's, I wanted to bring up. Unfortunately, I know that OPWC, Ohio Public Works Commission, does not fund sidewalks. There's no way, but is there something else that we could ask for? OPWC is a perfect piggyback thing for projects that we give federal money for, and then you can turn around and say, look, you can count that as your local share against, it's a little convoluted, but that you can do that, but not with sidewalks. I've never gotten sidewalk money from OPWC.
Well, there's a lot of sewer work and culverts separate for the sewers and culverts. We do separate grants for that and just combine them.
The sewer stuff, we could ask for, the sewers and drive culverts is a good possibility, drainage. And we could ask for funding for that. And that's,
Because that's all in that cost, correct?
yes.
And we can just reduce that down this way. It would be less we'd have to
We could, we could go that route. That's a great idea.
Mr. Koenig, I was under the impression like last year, we asked for 9,200 for OPWC. And then again, we had a deadline, May, we spoke about it
Yes.
before that, and you said like how this was point system 62 instead of 65, so we
Yes.
just missed it.
Yes, and I got with the mayor on that, went through the points and said, we have to put up X amount in order to get a grant for even the $20,000 for just to do some catch basin repairs. And it was decided we didn't have the local share to be able to pursue it. In fact, sometime Thursday of this week, they're going to publish the scoring from that, from this current round for next year's money. I have no idea what's being, what made the line. I was hoping to get that today, actually. They promised it would be before the meeting. I was hoping to have that so I could pass it out to everyone to show you what that point system is and how all the other cities and villages, they put, it's usually, if 50-50 is usually, is typically, what gets the points, enough points. If you go 60-40, 60% them, that gets a little tough to score. Sure.
The Achilles heel for me. Because just making sure that we can come up with our part. I was only looking forward to 100% funding because I know we are not in a position where we can match anything.
Right.
And in the past, all the ones that I saw, but I was hopeful because based on our
I was
meeting,
too, yes. But then looking, like I said, at that, they basically said it's going to be an 80-20 split.
So let me ask you about timelines. Is this one of those ones where you apply for it and if you get it, it's a year out before you get the funds
For the
for the sidewalks?
for the sidewalks, I'm sure that there's some type of lag there, but I don't know the exact dates.
The reason I
Or-
ask that is because of the large price tag. If we were to apply and get it, and it did have a time lag of, because obviously we wouldn't get it in enough time to do it this year.
Oh, no,
So they would allow us to wait for a period of time.
sure.
How long can we wait to finish it? And when would our dollars be required? Maybe you don't know the answers to these
I
questions.
don't, I'll find out.
Because what I was thinking was if we had 5 years to complete the project, in essence, if we got it, we could plan it out to set aside $20,000 a year
Mhm.
if we didn't have to put in our 96 until the end. And that would still allow us to move forward with it and at least get that funding and get it in place. But if we have to put the 96 in up front, then it's a absolute no-go unless we come up with secondary funding. So you're not sure about.
I don't know what that, how that works out, but I just know that they have open applications quarterly. Like the next application is due mid-September. So that, I mean, that's coming up and they take those applications for both for implementation or construction and for quote unquote planning of it. So that the planning part being, getting the your safety study in a road is to be able to prove that this is a necessary project.
So are you recommending that we go forward with that part?
I would love to do that, but I need council's
I get
buy-in
it.
on that before, before I invest a lot of time and money,
Sure.
putting that together.
September 15th is the deadline for that.
Yes.
But it's quarterly.
Yes, it is.
So if we didn't do September 15th, we could be able to do it 3 months after.
Sure.
that. So we've got,
Right. And it's, I forget what the values are. It's it is how much money is it? It's a nationwide grant and it's $6 billion over 5 years. That's what the plan is as part of the Safe Streets for All. And 40% of that 6 billion is for planning and 60% of it is for construction. So that's,
Thank you.
that planning aspect isn't like, oh, heck, we got plans. We, well, we've got a sketch and we all know it's a safety thing and it's, but we need to kind of prove that with, I mean, unfortunately, reading through that presentation that they gave, it's almost like you have to have a fatal accident on there to score enough, to take you to that next level of points without, doing this whole study saying, look, this could happen. And, here, this is the reason why we have a 3-foot path for kids to walk to, the school bus to the school stop for. Obviously, that's huge. I mean, we can take photographs of oh my gosh, I remember seeing someone in a wheelchair running up and down there. It was like, oh, holy cow, it's scary. It absolutely is. And I think it would be a good presentation that we could put together to say this is a safety problem. Someone is going to get hurt here eventually. And God forbid, we don't want that to happen. Give us the money.
Now, if we, OPWC, if we could piggyback with them,
If we could. Yeah, I mean, we could try with the sewers like
okay, the sewer and the drive culverts, I mean, on here, would that take that total out of our total that we would have to?
That could be done. Yes, Cindy, we could. When you do an OPWC application, we could say, what was that value? That 80% is
96.
384. We could go to OPWC and say, we're getting $384,000 from the federal government. That's the village's share. We're only asking you for 20%. That would give us tremendous points. And that's all legal. And I've done that. It's crazy, but the OPWC does not, it looks at that money and they count that as your local share. So that's where, you can almost get that's the way you parlay that, I guess. And
Okay.
Get that money.
And who, the OPWC is who again? Ohio
Public
Works?
Works Commission, yes. And I would have to check with the local the county engineer's office to make sure that, because I think that's a great idea, Mayor, that we could ask for the funding, not necessarily bring up the sidewalk, but bring up the drainage issues that we have there and the stormwater issues. And because we're planning on putting new ditching in there and drive culverts, and we have to fix the driveways if we're doing the drive culverts, so.
I have a question. In the past, you have applied on our behalf.
Oh, heck, yeah,
So do you have the unique entity identifier? Do you have those?
yes.
You have our SAM, how it used to be done. So how we register for the system for award management, like even to apply for this particular grant in question. So you have that? Do
For
you have the
OPWC, I have everything. I have,
Username, password.
yes, I do.
Okay, then my next question is to our chief, because I remember you were working with another police officer to apply for body camera. So was it the same username that was used or?
That Ohio Public Works though, or is that?
The village has a SAM registration.
Okay, the
There, I
grant
know at
stuff,
one time there was also a SAM registration for the police department, but I don't know if that was reactivated. Okay, it was. So there's 2 SAM registrations. There's one for the village of Timberlake and then there's one for the police department.
Right.
Right, they
it's
changed it to a
replaced by
new
SAM.
number, which they sent me. They updated this year, I think.
To Sam. So Mr. Roskus, you have that?
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure where to go for that.
So, I mean, I guess that's the question. Where do we want to try to pursue this? And if so, I can put something together and get it over to you guys for, what it would cost to do this initial grant thing. I mean, obviously there's some kind of setup involved here.
I could have this discussion with Mr. Roskus based on what monies we have, how much we can, if we can at all.
Correct.
What I have seen is every time there's a match, that's where I step back.
Right.
You know, and this I was pursuing, thinking it's 100% okay, we'll be lucky.
Mhm.
But if again, it's
Yeah.
$96,000, that's almost $100,000.
Payment plan or no payment plan. Can't go to the village club for this.
Do any job.
And this is all 2022 right now.
Yes, but this grant will be going for the next 5 years.
Oh, okay.
It started in 2020, the first quarter, second quarter, I think, of 2022, so.
Okay.
So upon reading more, it's cash match or what they call in-kind contributions, which include personnel, staff hours spent in the direct execution of grant agreement, including completing the required action plan. So your time billed out counts as a 20% match. So there's other ways, I think, potentially, I mean,
Right,
I'm no
sure.
expert on this, to lower that cost in goods, services, space, and obviously cash. I was trying to look with what you said, Mr. O'Leary, of, does it just have to be budgeted for over the next 5 years? You know, because certainly that's a possibility to budget X amount of dollars over the next 5 years, whatever it needs to be. It's more plausible than the other way. We had to put it up in front, but I don't necessarily see anything about that, but I'm reading it quickly. So I'll share this with the group via email.
Super.
I think the mayor's recommendation is probably the most plausible. If you can get Ohio Public Works money
Sure.
to do the culverts.
Yep.
And make them reliant upon each other, you might have your funding for both, and it might be 100%.
Yeah.
By the time you're done.
Yeah, and the only thing you can't get is other federal funding to use for that.
So this wouldn't be-
State,
this
yeah,
would be
state,
state.
local and all that. are-
Well, the other thing is, even if we can't work it as a parlay like you talked about, if we get the public works money to do the culverts, and we still have to do 20% on the balance, that's still a lower number than what we're talking about tonight. Not, I mean, it's still another $60,000, but it's better than 96, so.
Yeah, and I'd say I'm probably biased in this one. I'm trying to be a realist and understand the plausibility of it, but I don't think this alone makes it dead in the water. I think there's some things to look at and continue to look at and potentially go forward with, if not for the September 15th deadline, maybe the next cycle, at least the planning part.
Yeah, and I
And
can
start to-
have to look into that, come back with other numbers and get a recommendation from the county on the plausibility
Yeah,
of that, because that sounds like the key the factor here. That, you know, if that's a plausible funding source, I'd be happy to come back next month or to report on that.
I agree with Dr. Sharma. 100% match is way better, and that's what we look for, and that's what we thought. But it looks like they amended it recently to change it to that. But I think it's worth still
Probably want
Keeping
to
on
have
the
a
table.
stake in it.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
right.
Sure.
We have 5 minutes to cover something. What else? Playground equipment?
I've been trying to reach out to the gentleman
Place in Twinsburg.
Step 2. Are we good with,
and I haven't,
are we good with Mr. Panika?
Are we good with you?
I'm sorry.
Are you completed for this evening right now? You have anything
Yes.
else to advise us with?
Unless you need me to stick around.
That's
So
it.
we just need to follow up on the
Yeah, I'll
OPWC
check,
stuff,
I'll
and then
follow up on that.
figuring out the money thing, if it's gotta be right up front or whatever, and I'll send
Sure.
you this document too that I just found.
Great.
a little
Yeah,
cheat
if you want
sheet.
to email that to me, that'd be fine too.
Perfect.
But I'll check with my funding person too, to make sure that all work, that it's a good plan.
Would you put it in CC?
Sure. No, I don't mind.
And when do we expect a response?
What do you expect?
A response?
I've got a meeting with that person. Well, it's a countywide meeting, but that person that I need to talk to is this Thursday at the county. So I'll make sure I bump into her
Thank you.
and find out about it.
Thank you.
We'll go. She
About-
has to get back. I would say a couple weeks, just to be sure.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
She did this back too. I do not. What? Sherman. Go over that. Awesome. There's sort of information on this thing. I was like, son of a gun, that catch basin that you were telling me about. It's on.
He knows.
Well, then I need a copy.
I'll get you. I'll get you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I just briefly, I started looking at some grants for playground equipment. And step two, Walmart has a program. There's quite a few programs out there. And my question would just be piecemeal it, fix what we have, get a whole new thing. I mean, I think we have a younger population coming into the village, which means, younger children. So I mean, you can spend $300,000 on a playground set. So, it would depend on what we would foresee. We could.
Have fall committee meeting, to show us everything you have.
We have all winners. It's like spring,
Yeah,
summer,
that's true.
next summer.
Right.
Your lead time, you're gonna need just in time. Probably gonna need 4 to 6 months on most of this. We just went through this in Perry Village, and it took a long time for us to get things done. And then there's a certain requirement about what you lay underneath them in order to keep them safe. And it's a different kind of, you just put sand, you have to put certain kinds of materials in there. It's like that crunched up rubber stuff that they use.
Well, safety
So,
has- yeah, all
There's
safety.
there's a whole level of regulation that deals with playground sets.
Can't wait.
Is there the other two? Because I also was looking at this, the commercial versus recreational. There's two different types of playground equipment. Really, it's probably just more expensive and takes away a little bit of your personal liability if you buy the commercial one, which I have a feeling is what we would have to do being a village, is buy the higher end commercial one for liability. So that's an added cost too. I talked to the Playground World right here on Erie because I was curious to see what the price points were, because I had no idea in my head. Right, anywhere from $5,000 to pick your number out of the sky, you can build it. So
Okay, I'll work on it.
Okay, conclude the work session. Okay, so let us all stand for pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light in our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it in our directives for the common good, for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You silence your cell phones. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Present.
Dr. Sharma,
Present.
Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson,
Present.
Mr. Conrad.
present.
Thank you. Okay, open up the public comment. You get 3 minutes to speak. Please turn the mic on at the podium. Please state your name and address and your questions or concerns.
Hello, my name is Maureen Manera. I live at 34337 Lakeshore Boulevard. I've been a resident here for over 10 years. I worked for the village 6 of those years as the records clerk, cleaning the hall, and the service department, plowing and mowing. Ever since I've lived here, I've enjoyed having a small campfire to cook hot dogs and marshmallows on and to enjoy while watching the sunset on our beautiful lake. I'm there approximately 3 to 5 times a week in the summer, and I'm almost always alone. I rarely see any lakefront property owners using their beach, so I'm not sure why this is such a problem. Other surrounding areas along Lake Erie have exclusive members-only parks that decide their own set of rules, and I'd like us to do the same, especially since we are now known as Timberlake Residence Beach, according to Google. And the residents should have a choice in which activities we'd like to enjoy on our beach. I'd like to read a petition I was going to pass around until I was told by our chief that it wouldn't matter, but I believe it does. And I'd like to amend ordinance number 1062 to allow small campfires, alcohol within reason, and change the curfew. I would like the Village of Timberlake council members to please allow more privileges on our residents-only private beach. Timberlake Beach is the village's most treasured asset, and there are over 650 residents and families who reside here. It has been enjoyed and cherished by many former residents without restrictions up until recently. A handful of lakefront property owners have limited our activities and have restricted access to the entire length of beach from the big rock to the left of the steps, all the way to the break wall in front of CEI, which up until recently was available to all residents of Timberlake to walk upon and enjoy without fear of being arrested or harassed. They have managed to change the law in their favor, which states that they own to the water's edge and anyone can get arrested for trespassing if their feet are not clearly in the water. Even 911 has been called and children have almost drowned when they were swept downwind by the currents for fear of being arrested and thrown in jail for trespassing. Recently, it was decided that all residents who want to access the beach must purchase a key, and a huge sign and gate were built to prevent all outsiders and non-residents from entering. This was mostly done to appease the same lakefront property owners, yet the unsafe, rickety 60-year-old steps have not been updated or even painted in decades. And this inaction has prevented many of our older residents from enjoying our beach like they once did. There are lax rules regarding lakefront property owners who have huge bonfires, such as on August 2nd, drink alcohol, and are allowed to camp overnight. They have no restrictions or rules on their private beaches, yet the residents who are inlanders and do not own lakefront property are not allowed any of these privileges, and we deserve more. We as Timberlake residents pay one of the highest tax rates in all of Lake County, and we deserve the same privileges, or at least some of them within reason, and should be voted on by the residents of this village and council. I would like to declare the restrictions be lessened so our treasured asset we call Timberlake Beach can be enjoyed by more residents. I'd like to propose that we enact the Lake County Open Burn Law, which states fires can be no larger than 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot on private property, which Timberlake Residence Beach is now. I would like no glass or underage drinking, and possibly a curfew of 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and midnight on Fridays and Saturdays. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else?
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm Alex Coleman, 103 East Shore Boulevard, Timberlake, Ohio. I was here in regards to wondering why service department has stopped weed whacking around all the stop signs, street signs, and sewers. It does improve flowing of water into the storm drains if they're properly weed whacked around and well maintained. Also, I was also wondering, what is the status of our dump truck? Is it going to make it through the whole winter, or are we planning on leasing a vehicle from one of the other suburbs? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.
Anyone else?
Hello, I am Tammy Roeder. I live on 3464 Lakeshore. With the beach, I don't drink alcohol that often, but once in a while I do like to go down there and have a cocktail. And I notice our clam bake, it says bring your own booze. So I'm a little confused on what's the difference with our clam bake and what's the difference with the beach. I mean, we're just residents. We just love, last year I was here 3 days a week, 4 days. This year I got a garden. I'm not down here as often, but I love that beach. I haven't been here that long, but that is, my grandkids love that beach. We all come down and as a family and we swim and we have cocktails together, the adults, of course, but it's just something to think about. We, as a resident, that was one of the points of coming, why I bought the house here is because of the beach. And I just don't want anything taken away. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Carla Bassler, and I'm one of those lucky beachfront owners. And we've been here about 15 years. I love the beach. Every day, if it's warm enough, I'm sitting outside reading and enjoying the beach. I feel that God made this beach and made this lake for all of us to enjoy, including not just the people that are privileged enough to live right on the beach, but the rest of the residents. I certainly feel that there should be restrictions to protect us and to protect others and to protect children. I certainly don't feel that there should be people sleeping on the beach. There should be some curfews. I am a bit concerned about alcohol, but within moderation, it doesn't bother me. But I don't see a problem at all with somebody coming down and having a bonfire, enjoying the beach, cooking some hot dogs. So I would like to open up the beach or change these regulations so that more people can enjoy God's beautiful creation.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Moving on. We had our 75th parade and family days. It was a great success. I want to thank a lot of people, especially the Village Club, who put on a great time. I want to thank Mary Beth Germano. She did a wonderful time organizing the parade and also organizing the fireworks, which Ron Mona had started. Yeah, Ron, may he rest in peace. He wanted to see fireworks. He was diligent about it and he was able to fundraise most of the money. And then, of course, Mary Beth took over and did a tremendous job finishing that up. But also I'd like to thank, of course, Krista Canuck. She's president of the Village Club, that is, and also Rick and their family. They basically helped set up everything, put everything together. She put a lot of hard work. I don't know if everyone got to see all the history, the charts with all the history and the pictures. That was very, very interesting. Krista put all that together. It was just great to see all that history there. And we had the slides going also on the TV. And also Cindy Hardwick, she put together the parade, helped with the parade and the picnic and so forth. So thank you for all her help. And also setting up and breaking down. I tell you, these women did a great job, and we need more men though to join the Village Club and help out to do some of the physical work. So if we can get that, that'd be great. But yeah, I want to thank everyone also, that the residents who came in and pitched in. We all just came together really nice, and it was great to see everyone have a good time and just put together such a wonderful thing. And again, I'm just proud to be at our 75th anniversary, to be your mayor. Just a great time. And like I said, we made it through 75 years. That's really a great milestone for a small village. I mean, we could have got eaten up at any time by Eastlake or who knows, but either way, we're still going strong. So amen. There you go. So, and anyway, so then there was a couple proclamations. Mr. O'Leary put together a proclamation for us. I'm going to read this out. It's a proclamation acknowledging the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio. Whereas council is established August 7th, 2022, as the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the Village of Timberlake with a parade, picnic, and fireworks. And whereas the Village of Timberlake celebrates a rich history, the Village of Timberlake was known as the Elfworthy Helwick allotment in the 1920s. A large former farm encompassed not only the village, but also a section of land that is now CEI property in Eastlake. After the Great Depression, the community was renamed Lakeshore Boulevard Estates. Nevertheless, the estates did not develop in uniform fashion. Consequently, architectural styles vary greatly in Timberlake. And whereas the first general election of the Timberlake Village was held on December 2nd, 1947, the mayor's office was unopposed but the 6 council seats were highly contested. There was 100% turnout from the 50 residents' families. And whereas the homeowners of Timberlake formed the Hiawatha Club, the Hiawatha Club was responsible for the naming of our streets. Other than East Shore Boulevard, all the other streets are roads. All the names were taken from the poem, The Song of Hiawatha. The moon, Hiawatha, Minnewawa, whispering of the pine trees, Owasso, the bluebird, Wabin, the east wind, Shawandasi, the south wind, Keewaydin, the northwest wind, and the Powin, the spirit of sleep. And whereas Mrs. Eva Payton, 6 Owasso, and Mr. Lyman Taylor, 2 Wabin, were responsible for the name Timberlake, which was favored by a strong majority over the many other names considered by council. During the early years, council meetings were held in residents' homes, primarily in the basement of our first mayor, George Klein. And whereas the spirit of Timberlake is rooted in our men's, women's, and village clubs. They range from 4th of July carnivals to Family Day parade and luminaries at Christmas. Our neighborhoods are the backbone of our community. And now therefore be it proclaimed by the council and administration of the Village of Timberlake, County of Lake, State of Ohio as follows, that the 75th anniversary of the founding of the Village of Timberlake be commemorated on August 7th, 2022 with a parade, picnic, and fireworks thanks to the Village Club. That the council, administration, and residents of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio hereby express their appreciation to the residents of the Village of Timberlake for making this such a great place to live. Thank you all. Yes, we will. We also received from the Lake County Board of Commissioners a certificate of recognition celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Village of Timberlake. Whereas established in 1947, the Village of Timberlake prides itself on being a hidden treasure on Lake Erie, with streets lined with a spectacular canopy of multi-trunked silver maple trees. And whereas the tight-knit community of just over 800 residents, it's actually 631, band together to create an annual family day and parade, whereas everyone is invited to participate. The parade welcomes everything from children on decorated bicycles to classic cars and riding mowers. Through the years, it has grown to include fireworks, a dessert contest, and live music for all to enjoy. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners in and for Lake County, Ohio extends sincere congratulations to the Village of Timberlake and its residents for creating wonderful memories for many generations to come. And that's all I have right now. Let's move on to the reading and disposition of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the work session minutes from July 12th, 2022, please?
I make a motion.
A second. Ms. Mara makes a motion. Sorry.
I second.
Yes.
I am
Storm
now.
in.
At the work session? I believe it's Storm.
Oh, no, he was here, but he was not participating.
council member. at the
Correct.
time that
Okay.
the Work session took place.
Right,
He can't do the second.
okay.
Not this one. You have to wait till the next meeting.
Wait, were you?
Okay.
I said,
Okay. This is Dr. Sharman seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Yeah, am I allowed to vote, Mr. O'Leary?
Should have stayed.
Abstain.
Dr. Sharma,
I,
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, do I have a motion to approve special council meetings July 12th, 2022?
I make a motion to.
Dr.
And
Sharman
I will
makes a
second
motion.
that one.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
I,
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to legislation. First is ordinance 6-2022, third reading. An ordinance authorizing the creation of the rank of detective sergeant within the Timberlake Police Department and declaring an emergency. I have a motion for approval, please.
I make a motion.
Nancy Meyer makes a motion. Do you have a second?
I second it.
Dr. Sharma seconds. Discussion? No discussion heard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is ordinance number 10-2022, second reading. An ordinance repealing and replacing chapter 820 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Timberlake and declaring an emergency. Any discussion on that? Okay, next is ordinance number 11-2022. An ordinance amending wages and salaries for the employees of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mrs. Hardwick seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving ordinance 11-2022, please?
I make a motion.
I second.
Nancy Mara makes a motion.
Second.
I'm sorry. Ms. Thompson seconds. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, resolution 2022-31, a resolution amending the permanent appropriation funds for the Village of Timberlake, Ohio for the year 2022 and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. Conrad makes a motion.
I will second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-31, please?
Make a motion.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion.
Second that motion.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Discussion? No discussion heard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2022-32, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with American Legal Publishing Corporation for the purpose of providing publishing services related to the codified ordinances of the Village of Timberlake and the regular updating of the name and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
I make a motion.
Ms. Mara makes a motion.
I second.
Mrs. Hardwick seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2022-32, please?
Make a motion.
Mr. Conrad makes a motion.
I will second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Discussion?
Our ordinances will finally all be updated once we get to legal.
Discussion, go ahead.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, it will be updated through January 2022 with this agreement. And then at the end of the year, we will compile the remainder of 22 and then get an estimate on that.
Well overdue. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
John, for all your work.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-33, a resolution authorizing the mayor to promote certain police officers in the police department and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please? So moved. Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Do I have a second.
I'll
Mrs.
second
Mara
it.
seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Do I have a motion approving resolution 2022-33, please?
Excuse me, was there room for discussion or no?
It'll be after the second. Do I have a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Dr. Sharma seconds. Discussion.
Is this for a particular officer or incident, or is this what we discussed in the work session, changing how we do promotions via council approval or?
This, if you look further into here,
Gotcha. Ryan pointed it out. I'm understanding.
you got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Abstain.
Okay, next is mayor's reports. I already talked about the parade, which is like I said, a great success. We had a couple sewer blockages up on Keewaydin. There was a resident that called in on Owasso and Keewaydin where she had backup. She had Ceros come out. They said that it was open, then there was some blockage up in the manholes in the street. So I was able to get them to come out there and open that up for them. And then we were able to open up, she was able to have hers then opened up. So that was a problem, but we do have some issues on Keewaydin where we're gonna have to get our lines flushed, our sanitary lines. What we're running into a problem I see is this. A lot of our runs, the sewers all run, they all go to the east, the sanitary sewer. So it runs from the west to the east. And where we have like the furthest points, which is Keewaydin and Minnewawa, pretty much is where it begins, and it runs all that way. Those are the beginning runs. And what happens is there's, with the low flow toilets they have now, and because of everything's water conservation, there's not enough water to push the solids through the pipes anymore. So now we're gonna have to flush our lines more often. Yes. So we'll have to flush our lines more often. So it's gonna be a maintenance thing that I see it's gonna be upcoming. And this is not gonna just hit our village, it's gonna hit all cities. Because again, you know, the less water you flush with the toilet paper, it's just gonna sit there. It's all sticking inside, and that's where one of our problems are. So we're gonna have to get that all cleaned up. So
How,
we've got some money in the sewer
Yeah.
budget, I believe, to take care of that.
I think-
John?
There's about $11,410 left in the sanitary sewer
12, yeah,
repairs
so
this year.
we won't need it all. I mean, I'm just looking at maybe a couple thousand in flushing. We're gonna see how it goes a couple days. We'll do some investigating, but we're gonna have to do something though for sure. We'll flush it.
you know, when they gotta flush the hydrants, can we just have them hook up the hydrants and then, there you go.
Be nice, so.
Do we know the cadence of this going forward, or is it a do it once, wait and see? How do you know that it's backed up, those type of things?
We don't just do a inspection, periodic inspection, the manholes that we think that are in question. So I've got an idea. of where
Is it a
some are.
visual inspection or is
Just
it
visual, yeah. We
camera?
just pop the manhole lids and look down there and see if we see
We
any
see the
debris or see
crap.
any backup.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Will Ciro know how well it goes when they do it? If it goes well, that they see it come out, is
oh,
there
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
You
pressure
can tell
back?
right away. You
Okay.
can tell right away when the blockage is opened up.
And they'll know like, oh, we should do this X amount of times.
Well,
a
no,
year, or
well,
X.
we'll have a representative with them, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. I'm just curious of what the cadence will be and if they'll give us that info and if it's valid info from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way it'll work out is we'll probably get a daily rate with them for their back
Mm-hmm.
truck. So they'll go in there, they'll flush out the lines and back out all the sludge, and then basically it'll be a daily rate. So we'll try to get as many runs in as we can during that day, but that's usually, you don't know what you're gonna get into. There could be some lines that are gonna be worse than others, just depends on where the run is and what's accumulated in that line.
And if worse comes to worse and they don't know like how long it'll take to block back up, we know the last time we did it, and we'll know how bad it is now. So maybe we can use that as
Yeah, as a judge.
frequency.
So, but yeah, I just want to let everyone heads up that, we have to do some maintenance on our sewer lines though. So, and they're probably overdue anyway.
Mhm.
And as far as like our service, yeah, we are working on, we're down. We've had a lot going on with our, with the village itself, storms and so forth. But as far as keeping up, yeah, we're working on everything and we're working on the weeding. Alex will take care of that for you. So, yeah, other than that, I have no other reports. Solicitor's report?
I just have two quick things. One is more informational than anything else. We've had an increase in activity of Golden Municipal Court, and the cases are set for Timberlake on Tuesdays. I'm already in Golden Municipal Court on Wednesdays with Kirkland Hill, so I'd like to inform, and I've already talked to the court administrator, that if we can move the Timberlake day from Tuesday to Wednesday, so that I don't have to go out twice a week, I can maximize the opportunity to be there just on Wednesdays. I talked to the chief about it. She didn't have any concerns about it being switched to Wednesday, so unless somebody has an objection, I would send a letter to the court administrator asking them to move our cases to Wednesdays in order to bring those together. And the only other thing I have was ask that we go into executive session to discuss potential litigation. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to address that each question, by the way, or the fires and so forth? And want the chief to do that?
Well, I think the chief could do that. I mean, the ordinance is in place. I mean, you've got, what year was that ordinance put in place? With the beach?
1987. There was a portion of it that was put in place in 69. The majority of it was 1987.
And you're addressing the concerns that were brought up today.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not it's been enforced, the ordinance has been in place about no alcohol, no fires. And, we either enforce that or we change the ordinance. Unless council decides that they want to change the ordinance, then, then we're going to have to enforce it one way or the other. So
Say one thing.
you can say whatever you want.
In reviewing the 87 ordinance, I checked with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, which is what all of your beaches throughout the state are mirrored on. Our ordinance actually mirrors state law. And all of the issues that we have on our books in our parks ordinance currently they follow state law as far as the alcohol and the bonfires and the times and et cetera. And that's why I came up with a revised one, but it's still in line with the majority of the things that you currently have on your ordinance that have been on the books since 1987.
Chief or solicitor, is this what you're proposing
This-
here, or this is just snips from the actual ordinance, or is this the
Well,
whole ordinance?
What I really did, what's attached to the back of this packet is just retyping it in today's language and bringing it up to date. Everywhere it mentioned public beach, it's clear that or in public parks, it's clear that our parks are private. And I changed the language for that. But I'm still not changing what's on the books in 1987 because that does mirror state law.
It says you can build any fires except in grills or fireplaces with said fires to be attended at all times, must extinguish prior to leaving. So,
Which is here. The grills are out here by the
Well,
building.
well, it doesn't say provided.
Where are you at?
D subsection 106.2.05 miscellaneous regulations D. So if you bring a fire pit down with you, or if there's one, or if there was one there, or if there is a fire pit there. Because it says excluding and this is excluding outbuildings and grills or fireplaces on the private beach.
Right.
So
The way that this up here is designated as your picnic area, which you do have a grill. It's actually, I don't know if it's bolted in the ground. It's on a post.
yeah, I know what you're talking
It's
about. Yeah, yeah.
permanent. And the grilling and the cooking should be in your pavilion picnic area, not on a beach. And again, that only mirrors state law. There's only 4 beaches in the state of Ohio that you can camp and cook.
Public beaches.
Correct. I mean, there's
Public.
4. And that's it. That's all I can find. And one is actually fairly close to here because it's in North Perry Township.
I mean, I don't know if this is the right time to put my 2 cents in on the comments or not. I can wait if you want to wait till my time.
Yeah.
Well, until it's my turn for report, I can wait till then.
I mean, this is just a proposal. I brought this up at the work session meeting.
Yes,
Because nothing has been enforced in a long time.
right. And I feel like we talked about it and we were talking about leaving it open longer and allowing alcohol, just no glass. Like we had discussions about it and then nothing came of it. So
I would highly.
Three reading.
Highly recommend that no alcohol be had. You do not want that liability.
is it,
The only way that I rearranged where alcohol is allowed, and I'd have to find it, is this portion right here, which is part of the park and part of parcel A. This has had alcohol events outside, not this building.
But that's under the purview of a police officer.
Correct, that is correct. Where I go with what you're saying, as the sign at the playground says, no alcohol, no beer, no drugs of abuse. And Mr. O'Leary is totally correct. Allowing alcohol sanctioned by the village on that beach is a liability nightmare.
we're not saying- I don't think and maybe I'm mistaken, like, I don't think the original ordinance said no alcohol. That was the
No, it
point of
does.
order, because the sign says it, but we didn't have it in the ordinance.
It is in the ordinance from 1987.
I'll
It
have to look at
specifically
the
states,
ordinance. I
no
mean,
alcohol, no beer, no drugs of abuse.
I understand the liability issue. And I think that often gets overlooked.
That was my concern.
When we discuss this stuff, because it is a public-private beach. I don't know. It's hard to call it public, but it's public for the residents of Timberlake.
It's private for the residents of Timberlake, which is why when I changed at the beginning of it, where it defines A and B, your parks, I did add the address for the playground, which is 34 Waban, which was never included in the original ordinance. Why, I don't know. And designating paragraph A never included the beach. So I included a sentence that says contains the private secured beach for resident property owners only.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the sign says.
Correct. And the reason that the beach is now included is because of the order from Judge Lucci that
And the
defined
and
what
the-
the beach
That's
was.
correct.
I
As
think
far as
that
the
gets missed
private
too.
properties were designated by the Ohio Supreme Court.
Also, we changed ownership. It used to be deeded to the Board of Trustees. Now it's deeded to the Village of Timberlake. With that same though restriction is still on there though, that retained. So it's almost like a double whammy. Okay, we got hit still with the same restriction, but then again, it's in the village name now, so which means now there's more liability. Okay, so which means that we have to follow state law, follow all the ordinances. I mean, we have no choice.
Yeah, and I think that's a point of order to remind residents, like, this is not, changes aren't happening because we decided we wanted to do that. It's because we were ordered by a judge to deeming that as homeowners and lot owners and lot buyers only. That changes the liability.
Absolutely.
And we're
It's
also,
unfortunate, but that's what it is.
we're also clarifying that prior, the way the ordinance is written now, we can't have any alcohol at the pavilion at all. So we want to clarify that and say that, yes, when we rent out the pavilion, we can have alcohol there for the events and so forth. So that just needs to be re-clarified. Because again, that was in there where it wasn't allowed at all, even though we were doing it. So. Okay. Anything
I'm
else?
done.
We're done on that part. Okay.
Did you want to clarify about the village club, though, the question about the fire club, because the court, since the village club has always been exempt, correct?
The village club is the group. Our ordinance is written that says no person shall. It's individuals. Whereas if you go with the paragraph the way that I added for the pavilion to be separate, where group events can have alcohol as long as there's a police officer. The beach, the way it's written, still I mirrored what we had, which was state law at the time, 1987. I didn't take any of that away because that still stands as state law.
Good. Thank you. All right. All right, what's next?
Hall rental's been good. Still good going out into the fall? We are looking into exploring better days many years ago. These tables need replacing. They too are banged up, you know, whatever. So we're gonna have to figure out where we're gonna put our money, where we need it the most, and I think we need tables for the rentals of the village hall for the people. Lighter ones, better ones, ones that, these are horrible. I've had people ask me if they could set, if there's nothing in the hall on a Friday night, because they're having an event Saturday, because they could get family together to come set up, because some of the old don't have the strength to do it. So I think we have around 15 of the rectangular and 8 round. I'd like to move. Yeah, I'd like to move to 10 round. So be looking into costs of that.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Conrad?
Yeah, I wanted to echo your comments. I think the 75th anniversary Family Days was a huge success, at least from my perspective. Hardwick and the team did a fantastic job. They were busting tail all day, so I want to thank them for putting on a good show. I think those fireworks, probably top 3 fireworks I've seen. Maybe it's just because you're so close and they're right above you, but for 5,000 or what, I don't know what the final number was, but it's been thrown around that they were $5,000. I think they were better than community fireworks around the county that I saw. So I want to say I'm a proponent of possibly looking into doing that more frequently for the residents. And I want to thank everyone for letting me cook. That's always fun. Me and Bill Julian cook the hot dogs and sausages. So if you have any complaints, direct them to him. He'll field those for you guys. But I do think it was a great time, and I look forward to participating and helping cook if I'm available next year. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to be out of town, but plans changed and I was able to make it, and I was fortunate for that. Other than that, you touched on the sewer stuff, so you cleared that for me. I think we're going to continue to look at that, and in my mind, keeping a prudent reserve and keep building that up for bigger improvements that we know we need to make down the road. It's probably the tactic we'll take, and just keep up with the maintenance so that we don't have bigger issues down the road. The other thing is just to circle back to it, and I don't want to belabor the point, but the beach ordinance, I think I tend to agree in principle with what was said about allowing more things down on the beach and allowing the landside residents to enjoy some of the perks of being a beachfront homeowner. But unfortunately, you know, there's legal precedent that was set that constrains what we can do. I'm not saying none of it's possible, and maybe there's ways to find a compromise, and I think we should really work hard to do that. I don't know what that looks like or what. I'm going to try and find the actual ordinance and see what's in there. But if what this says too, like, you know, maybe we put a little fire pit down there that can allow other people to have fires down there within reason, you know, or expand the hours a little bit on the weekends like was suggested. But I don't know. It's a really tough issue, and I think our hands are tied in a lot of places, and we get a lot of flack for it. I know the mayor definitely gets a lot of flack for it, and I don't think that's fair because it's not just to make new rules. I don't think that's what we're trying to accomplish here as council at large. So yeah, I think we could just focus on the good times we have, like at the 75th anniversary, and try and find some compromise that makes everyone happy here, and realize that we can't sleep in tent camp. And like, yes, it's a public park, and while that would be awesome, it's just not safe, and there's rules that we have to follow from the state and from legal precedent. So yeah, thank you.
Good, thank you. Mr. Joyce?
I would just like to tack on to what Mr. Conrad said with regard to the celebration. It was a tremendous outpouring of the community. It was terrific to see this whole parcel A and the whole area filled up. The number of people that were lining the streets on East Shore. And I heard from my own family that they heard the band playing and they said, what's going on? And they came down, even though they knew the parade was going to be happening, and they showed up then to watch the parade go by. Special thanks to the Model A Club guys that came in from Painesville. And I know they love to show off their cars, but it's still really kind of neat to see that and know that at one point in time, my father owned a car like that when it was probably only a few years used. I'm glad Ryan mentioned that he was cooking, because up till now, nobody really thanked him for doing that. Yeah, I know he and Bill Julian, who's my neighbor 2 doors down or 3 doors down from me, just came here and just started to work on that. And everything was ready when people walked in. That was fantastic because people arrived here hungry and ready to go. So it was a terrific outpouring of the community. And as the proclamation said, it does make you proud to live in a community like Timberlake. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot about Jeff. He was our supervisor.
We invited former kids that were raised here to come back. We were just a word of mouth if we knew somebody in Bethel. We had 44 former kids that were raised here come back. The eldest one was 83 years old. And the furthest distance driven was Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And we had 44, and we really did not come back. 44 kids came back. And I've received 2 letters already from families that come back. The memories that they had and what it started. It was a beautiful. Shows you what kind of community.
Thank you. Samara?
Thanks to the North High Band, who was sweating their heads off. Well, I was talking to one band member. They're not allowed to, because they're a marching band, they're not allowed to get out of position, hold their instruments. They were just melting. And I want to thank Jane Mona. My job was to get the band to Jane Mona's yard so that they could get their pizza and so forth. Thank you, Jane, for hosting a whole band coming into your yard. Appreciate that. And for all the people that donated towards the pizza the band could eat and so forth. And the Village Club did a great job. Thank you again, Mary Beth, for continuing Ron's work. Thanks so much. So it's an honor to be on council, and who knew that we'd be on council, the 75th anniversary. Want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Anyways, on another note, I get some complaints about trash. Okay, once again, garbage cans out of sight. If you want something big to be picked up from Republic, and you're not so sure, give them a call. We have it in the Village Times, right? The Republic. Okay.
On our website.
We've had some complaints about people leaving out furniture, jagged edges, nails in furniture. Please just call Republic. Sometimes you have to unassemble what's ever being left outside.
You can reserve pickup of beer items on your phone too, or on the website. So you don't actually have to call and talk to someone.
Yeah, there was some, and there was an elderly couple I had to handle because they're unfortunately suffering from beginning to have some sorts of dementia, and there was a daughter who takes care of them, and then she didn't know, so we finally got it settled because it was something that was dangerous left out. And just call to Republic. They'll tell you if they'll pick it up or how to unassemble it to pick it up. And then another thing, I got a complaint that some people walk with traffic instead of against traffic. So when you're walking your dog or walking, just please notice those rules. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sharma?
Just like my team members, I would like to thank the Village Club for such a wonderful show. And I didn't know it only costed $5,000 because I was bragging and saying something else.
It was a little,
It felt
Yeah,
like
because
more.
that was an awesome show. It was especially endearing to me because it was 75 years of independence for India as well.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
we did have a quick session before tonight's council meeting that was based on grants, and we spoke to, so may I update them on that? So there was a grant based on the sidewalk funding, and everyone, especially Councilman Conrad, was very excited about it. We were thinking it was 100% federal monies that we would get, to find out that there's a match. It's an 80-20, and working with Mr. Formica, also the other grant that you are looking into based on the playground equipment. So hopefully we will have some more to report.
Doctor. Okay, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, regarding trees, last week I contacted 3 tree companies to come out and take a look at the large dying maple right by our garbage bin. So we're starting to get estimates in. The first estimate came in today, $3,500 to take down the tree and $600 for stump grinding. And to be honest, with today's inflation prices and the size of that tree, it doesn't surprise me at all. That's actually not a bad deal. So we'll see what the other 2 come in, and I will submit that to everybody, and we'll discuss it, and we'll see which offer makes the most sense. So that's all we have going down for trees for now. And at the risk of sounding redundant, Family Day was awesome. And I came in Saturday night to sign the proclamation, and Cindy's over there working like a dog here with Krista Canuck all night long. I mean, I had a lot of family obligations, so I feel bad I wasn't able to do much, but everybody here did something, and especially, Nancy's always involved, and Cindy was doing a lot. So Mary Beth, geez, and Jane helped out with the parade. So thank you, everybody who did something to make that day special.
Oh, real quick, may I say something, Doctor? Clam bake. It's big now, right? September 10th, it never got into last month's August times because there is no August times. So September 10th is clam bake. Tell everybody there's a form online on the village website, correct? And there's I think I'm only missing 1 street for flyers, or just get a hold of me. And there'll be dancing, dancing, DJ, food, and anybody want to jump in? These are really heavy. I need the help to get all these up in chairs and then break down. So we could use the help of the Village Club. But thank you. It'll be another good time.
And we're having the same caterer from last year,
Yes,
correct? Yeah, and
yes.
we attended last year, my wife and I, and the food's amazing. And if you don't like clams or allergic to shellfish, they have a chicken option and a steak, so come.
And they don't cook it together because people say, do the clams or the chicken get cooked together? They don't. Everything's separate. So you don't have the flavor that you might not want. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fiscal Officer report, Mr. Roskis.
Just our monthly financial report. Our general fund balance through July 31st is at $307,343. That includes any committed or encumbered expenses. Month-to-date revenue for July was $51,674 versus expenditures of $37,540 for a net difference of $14,133. Our general fund revenue through July 31st is up $91,725 versus last year. Increase income tax on taxes. Revenues in July exceeded projections by approximately $22,000. Expenditure $92 less than expected. Based on current expenditure rates and income surplus at the end of $121,500. This would not include transfers to the Village Hall capital police cruiser capital fund of $20,000. If the council chooses to make those transfers, the village would be looking at a surplus of around $81,520 for the year. Some other fund activity. We received our second tranche of the American Relief Plan Act, which was 34,000. Goes in Fund 2152, and it's restricted at $7,087 out of our sanitary sewer. That service fund for the sanitary sewer loan to the Ohio Water Development Authority. Also issued $200 or 9901 Hall Rental Security Deposit Fund.
Okay, thank you. Police Chief report.
There were 2 911 calls, 4 accidents, 1 alarm call, 7 animal complaints, 6 requests for assistance. The beach checks and community policing total were 114. We had 1 civil complaint. We had 2 court cases. There was 1 disturbance. There were 3 complaints of domestic violence. There was 2 hazard complaints, 61 house checks, 17 investigations, 1 juvenile complaint, 2 neighbor complaints, 5 patrol complaints, parking violations were 2, suspicious vehicles 2, 1 threat complaint, 2 traffic complaints, 1 transport, 1 trespassing complaint, 1 warrant served, for a total of 241 calls through central dispatch. And the other part is the parks review of the parks ordinance, which is section 1062. It is attached to the handout. And I basically broke it down to coincide with our changing of trustees to council. The property belongs to the village as far as the beach. And again, our original ordinance, which was on the book since '87, mirrors state law, and which is the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for beaches. I went through it and redefined or maybe critiqued paragraph A, which now says it includes the private secured beach for resident property owners only. I added the address for the playground, which is actually 34 Waban Road. Everything else is basically the same, except for where it stated public parks. I changed it to actual private parks, which is what we really are. And then there are a series of additions under miscellaneous regulations as far as fires on the beach, as far as dogs being on a leash. Some of them are still the same about possessing any firearms, fireworks, or explosives. Conducting solicitations at the parks, anybody trying to sell anything. This is for council to review. This is what I recommend. The penalty needs to be redefined because our current penalty, as it was written in 1987, designates everything as a misdemeanor of the 4th degree, which is not a citation. This is go to jail type of thing. So I would like to get with Mr. O'Leary and go over everything. But I basically asked for the work session meeting in July because our ordinance is so out of date. And again, mirroring state law for beaches says they're closed from dusk to dawn. And currently we're enforcing 10 p.m., which is a good bit past dusk. Of course, when the time change comes, it's going to be dark at 5 o'clock in the evening. Again, this is what I'm proposing for council to look over and have it side by side with our current ordinance and changing it, tweaking it, mainly because it needs to refer to the beach and it needs to be designated. I mean, we have a sign, 2 signs at the playground at the other end of town, that part of one sign actually says no use after dark. And our ordinance doesn't clearly say you can't bounce a basketball on the basketball court after dark. So what I'm proposing is exact rules. And again, that's for council to look it over and.
Meet again at work session.
Right, I mean,
Definitely.
but it's all focused on, A, this is new, this closed up locked gate way before, back in 87 when this was written. And we have to take into accountability now that this is actually village property where it's not leased like it used to be. Mr. O'Leary said it earlier. The issue of liability is very tremendous now that it falls totally on this village and this police department.
It's no longer leased after-
That is my point. That is my point. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Zoning and property maintenance, Gary Gray is not here, so we'll catch up with him next month. Purchases and approvals. Do I have a motion to approve the June and July 2022 financial reports, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Conrad makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Dr. Sharma seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, public comment and questions. These may be directed at the mayor or council members only, reserved for follow-up questions on topics discussed at today's meeting only. So if we have any public comments or questions on today's, please come up forward. Please come up to the podium. Please.
I'm not sure if this is directed to our solicitor or the chief, but I've done some research and up and down off of Lakeshore Boulevard between here and Euclid, for instance, there's Beachland Park for members only. No underage drinking, no dogs off leash. Park closes 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 12 a.m. Saturday and Friday. There is another one that is known as Brookwood Crest Haven. It says no glass on property. Beach members only, trust, I'm just, and here's another one, Brookwood Club members. My question is, these are beachfront properties that are exclusive members only. They are allowed to have fires. They are allowed to drink. Why can't we have our beach be like them? And if there's a problem with that, John, I help you with the community beach nights, starting the fires, because you know how good I am at that. So can we have them once a month? A Sunday, Friday night. I'll host it every Friday night like I used to for these guys and everyone who wants to go. I'm like, can we have more community beach nights? Can we have one every? Okay.
Because the village club, the cops are around, the police officers are around. It has to be.
Cops aren't usually there though for community beach night, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then my question, how come they are allowed to enact their own rules for the beach, but we can't?
I think those are paid clubs that you pay into.
I'd be
And I don't
willing to
know
pay.
if that,
Oh, you
if
mean the other club?
the other clubs that she's mentioning, I believe are paid, and I don't know if that changes the liability if you're paying as a member of a club.
Are they
They're-
private property?
That'd be a
and
good way to
not
make money.
Owned by a community, possibly?
Without knowing more about the structure of the organization, I don't want to necessarily go out on a limb and differentiate them. But anytime you allow alcohol, there's going to be liability if somebody can start. Right? Private beach.
I'm not that,
Private beach for Timberlake. So.
Okay.
I'm not that worried. What I'm kind of really wanting is just campfires, not bonfires, not 30 feet tall, like, may I say it, Gina and her husband have. Huge bonfires. But we're not allowed to have a small campfire to cook marshmallows on. It's just, it's not the same. Everybody knows it's not the same than being down on the beach. And a lot of people other than me love to have fires down there and have been doing it for decades. And it's just a shame that this wonderful village that has just celebrated 75th year are going to have more restrictions for us inlanders that can't do the same thing as the lakefront property owners. I've been having fires down there for 10 years. And it just breaks my heart that nobody gets that and nobody else wants it to happen, but the lakefront property owners can do whatever they want. So I'd like to change that. If there's any way we can do that.
Yes, please.
Whether you've lived here 10 years or not, the ordinance has been on the books since 1987. This is not a rule that I am creating.
Oh, I know that, but I'd like
It's
to
been
help with
on-
the
it's been
amending though.
On the books. And when it was put on the books, that ordinance was written mirroring state law.
Okay, but how do the other people get away with it then? And how come private property owners can do it? If this is now a
This-
private
this-
beach,
This has been deeded to the village of Timberlake.
the
Like
residents beach.
Like our solicitor said, I don't know about these other communities you're talking about. And Ryan may be correct. It might be paid dues to something. I don't know. I'm not asking for anything new. What I'm asking for is this be tweaked, and what was put in place in 1987 still mirrors state law for
Okay.
beaches.
Okay, then what is the open burn law in Lake County states that you can have fires 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot on private
At your-
property?
On your private property.
This is private property owned by the
This
village
is
of Timberlake.
owned by the village government. It's not
Which
the
is you
same
guys.
as a private yard and private beach.
Okay. Well, then
It's
maybe we can have
private
more sunset
access.
fires then.
This is
Community.
private access to your beach. But this is owned by your village government.
May I suggest, it sounds like there has been a request to set up a work session specifically. You might be better served to attend that.
Okay.
And participate with that. Because I think we've exhausted the topic tonight as far as we can.
Maybe some other people who want to talk, but if we could, if us residents can have some say at what activities go on our beach, that would really be appreciated. So,
And I think the work session will probably be before the next council meeting, right? Will we put it out in the times for them so they know to be able to attend?
yeah, I'd like to know when that is.
Yeah, we'll put it in the times. You're welcome. So you guys can attend.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is for the chief of police. Hey, Sue, so
This portion right here, we're on number 9, public comments and questions. I'll listen to your question, but this should be directed at your mayor and your council.
okay, then mayor, council, can we start enforcing a curfew on the playground? Because there's people coming down there at 2 o'clock in the morning with music and basketballs all night long. My window faces that playground directly, and I'm hearing that, and I'm being woke out of bed. Sorry about that. And I was told by the chief of police that there is no ordinance on that. Us villagers would like an ordinance.
Can I comment? There is a sign at that playground that says no use after dark. That exact language does not exist in our current ordinance.
Okay, that's what we were
That's
talking
the
about.
problem.
So you can't,
That's
you
another
can't
reason-
enforce them.
That's another reason why I asked for the work session meeting in July and brought it to council's attention that our ordinance needs to be revised.
Yes, it does.
And it doesn't exactly say that. The sign says one thing, the ordinance says another.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It does say 10 PM.
Right.
So if it's 2 AM, then
But there,
that's a valid
Right.
complaint. Okay.
somebody's got to call us.
Yeah. Call. And then, okay.
She told me don't bother.
No, you called one time and I asked why that particular day. Because the sign says no use after dark.
I was calling because my neighbors felt concerned.
If someone's out there playing live music, loud music, basketball at 2 o'clock in the morning, call Lake County Central Dispatch and we will respond.
Anytime after 10 PM, correct?
Correct.
That's what the ordinance says. So anytime after 10 PM.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment with the, during the personal time, so I wouldn't use up my official tree time. Regarding the beach, sorry, Mr. O'Leary. So as the chief said, she's going to discuss with Mr. O'Leary and they're going to come up with a proposal. And then I believe that we definitely need a further work session to more iron things out. Mary Beth brought up how all of those, older residents came back for Family Day, and I had the opportunity to speak with some of them and meet with them, and even drive one of them, well, her husband rather. And they were telling me about how Timberlake was a long time ago and why it's special to them, why they loved it. It seems like Timberlake has lost a little bit of that, of that appeal. And I do think over the years, not just, this isn't this government, this is over 50 years, little by little, I think Timberlake has become a little overregulated, too many ordinances, and, people want to, yeah. So, and when we review that, and I'm glad the chief brought up, that right now there's punishments in there that are misdemeanors and not just citations, and if someone is breaking a rule, I'm very much in favor of citations rather than criminal records. So these are things I would push for, and I will push for things that are going to loosen up regulations a little bit and provide a little more freedoms, but we have to be mindful of modern litigation problems, and that's why everything's liability nowadays. So that exists, that ties our hands, and then the lot owner issue that ties our hands. There's certain things we can't do, even though I would like to get rid of almost all the rules, but there's just certain things we can't do. And if we lessen some regulations, we as residents also have to be responsible when we go down there. We're not being too loud. We're not playing music too loud or too late. We're not leaving messes. I'm just saying in general, I'm not picking on anybody, but we can't ruin the beach for others. Otherwise, that's going to invoke people requesting rules. So, we all have to. No, I'm just saying, you'd be surprised how many complaints we get about the beach. But because it's such a contentious issue, I do think we need more time to iron it out and go through these things instead of just trying to fix little Band-Aids and sweep it under the rug. I do think it needs more time, and I'd like to, work with fellow council members and do that. And so just so you know where I stand. It's a very frustrating situation for everybody. I'm done.
Any other questions with anyone? Any comments, questions to the council or me? Is that okay? It says we have to go into executive session. So do I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Mr. Ross. I'll take the chief and speaker unless she wants to say.
The rest are not excused. So thank you for coming this evening.
We need a motion.
So
I move.
do I have a motion?
Go into executive council.
And I need a second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye. Bathroom break before?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's here.
Your ice cream is so disgusting. Even if I didn't have any ice cream.
Okay. Our executive session is concluded. Do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Mrs. Mara
I'll second.
seconds. Roll
Okay.
call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Thank you. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, September 20th at 6:30 PM. Thank you and have a good evening.
Is somebody going to circulate dates for a work session? Or do you want to do it before the meeting?
Thank you.